Hello, hello. Welcome into another episode of the Patriots podcast. I'm Sean here with Ryan and JJ.
Hello.
What's up?
What's happening? So that we just wrapped up Week 14. Patriots Monday Night Football go into Arizona, and they got business done. I mean, it wasn't pretty. I know our chat was pretty lively during the game, but they advanced to 7-6, winning record. Actually, move into a current playoff spot at this point. I mean, JJ, what were your initial takeaways from this game? Is it a tale of two halves?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. Arizona is kind of a train wreck. What is it? Second down, minute into the game. Kyler Murray hits the turf. It's clearly a non-contact injury, as we know those are usually bad. So right off the bat, they're starting quarterbacks out, and it's like, okay, we should tee off on this team. They really don't have much going for them. As we talked about pregame, they've had their issues. Cliff Kingsbury's not the greatest coach right now. He's under, in the hot seat, and we look terrible. Our offense looked terrible. We thought coming out of here, the last game of Buffalo, that we really need to turn things around. They had a little extra time this week. They had an extra day or two, or extra few days. Like, let's go and kick the crap out of them and everything. In the first half, we did not do that. I mean, we scored 10 points, but it was ugly. We couldn't move the ball. It seemed like everything was a screen or behind the line. We lost Stevenson, so right away that put stress on things. They had him come back, which I thought was stupid, and immediately go to him twice instead of ease him into it, which I wasn't too happy about. And then the second half, we came out, we made a couple plays. Defense made a huge play, and we won against a bad team with their backup quarterback. Is how I saw it.
Yeah, I thought it was a tale of two.
We needed to.
Yeah, they were pretty banged up. It was a tale of two halves. When Kyler went down, I mean, they were moving the ball with Kyler. Granted, it was only a few plays. When he went down, they kind of leaned on Connor a little bit, and he was moving the ball on us. We were having a tough time offensively. Just so many screens. The play calling was really frustrating once again. We had to lean on some rookies here. Pierre Strong, Kevin Harris. Marcus Jones was huge in this game. Tyquan Thornton had a bunch of balls. Cole Strange played the whole game. So our young guys are stepping up, playing well. The second half was almost all Patriots. DeAndre Hopkins tries to – he's running a drag route across the field. He puts the ball out very carelessly. Kyle Duggar, of course, makes the hit, causes a fumble. Raekwon McMillan picks it up, brings it back for a touchdown, and from then on out, it was basically all Patriots. Colt McCoy, I mean, you could do worse for a backup quarterback there, but Patriots' pressure was really strong in this game. Josh Uche, Defensive Player of the Week, had 3 sacks. So yeah, Judon showed up again. He didn't play too much in this game. I think he only had 72% of the snaps.
Uche forced that interception too. Getting a hand on Colt made him throw it short.
Yeah, and I think that could have been a touchdown because Marcus Jones was beat. That's a tough game for Marcus Jones to come in, and Jack Jones goes down. Jalen Mills is out, and they matched him up quite a bit against DeAndre Hopkins, which is a tough matchup for all pro corners. And he hasn't played a ton of corner this year in live game action. So I thought he did pretty well. He grabbed that pick.
I thought he did great. He played offense. He was returning kicks and punts. He was on the field for well over half the snaps this game.
Yep. Oh, yeah. 8 tackles, 2 passes defended. He's a player, man. He's a star player. I'm really excited for him.
Yeah, you guys nailed the turning point when Hopkins fumbled that ball in the third quarter. It was a tie game, and really the Cardinals had controlled the ball in the first half. And then right after that, we get the recovery, return for a touchdown, force the interception, go down, score a touchdown. All of a sudden, it's a 14-point game. And the Cardinals just weren't in a position to come back from that. They went for it on fourth down twice in the fourth quarter, didn't get either one of them. Actually went for it on fourth down right before halftime, and then again to start the third quarter. They were 1 for 5 on fourth downs. That effectively counts as 4 turnovers. Not to mention the fumble and the interception on top of that. So you're looking at a +5 turnover differential if you include those fourth downs for the Patriots in this game. And then I think some of the rookies just being able to see Pierre Strong do something and Kevin Harris not like shitting his pants like he did on his first ever carry. See those guys actually progressing into NFL players. That was huge.
Well, there was a fumbled snap to Kevin Harris, which is not great.
Right.
But Pierre Strong came in. He only had 5 carries, but he had 70 yards on them. One of them was a 44-yarder. Big,
pretty good.
I mean,
he looked really good in there.
Yeah, and you can see his speed. I mean, I think he looks like a bigger guy, but he's got some real wheels on him. I was impressed with him.
Yeah, no doubt. And then, I mean, Ramondre getting hurt, that's a big blow to this offense where it feels like 2/3 of the offense runs through him, either in pass protection, throwing the ball to him, handing it off, obviously. And then Devontae Parker, how scary was that? He gets hit. I'm watching him barely get to his feet. I'm yelling at the TV. And then, do you see Nelson Aguilar?
Oh, yeah.
As they're lining up for the next play, Aguilar's like waving his hands. He's like, I'm going to go in motion. Yeah, like stop the game. Parker can't stay in his stance. It was a real lapse from the medical personnel.
It's very strange because they're supposed to have people watching the game and trying to identify that, and they couldn't see that. Yeah, and there's a whole stink being raised right now by Devontae Parker himself, saying, "How come Nelson Aguilar was the only one to see that and stop the game? Like, you have spotters now. That's their entire job. So you see a guy like that, and I mean, he caught the ball and he went down and he was out cold for like a second. And I thought it was fairly obvious to see. I don't know how you miss it.
Yeah, not good. Right there in, beyond the injury being as it was, you lost another receiver. You were already down Jacoby Myers. As you said, you were already down Stevenson. So now, it leaves your receivers as Bourne, Aguilar, Thornton as your main 3. And I thought, they played okay. Aguilar's got an issue with dropping the ball, tipping the ball up. I mean, we got lucky on whatever his strip fumble, return for a touchdown, or whatever that was. It was close. I'm happy it went our way. I think there was the right call for it to go our way, but it was too close to call, and that happens to that dude way too much. I thought Bourne came alive a little bit. We saw a little bit of spark from last year. Thornton, a lot of short stuff. The awareness play on the sidelines where he had a nice catch, but he stepped out of bounds. I thought he could have had that. My biggest gripe was the tight ends, how Arizona is statistically one of the worst defensive teams against tight ends and in the red zone. And then all first half, we barely went to, any looks from the tight ends. And then finally in the second half, Hunter Henry down the seam was, a tight end.
That was huge.
Perfect. He was
wide open. We've run that a lot in the past. We really haven't run it this year. He did it well last year, and finally they called it. It's like, where the hell has that play been? Why did it take you till the third quarter to get to that play, or whenever, third or fourth quarter, whenever that was, to get to that play? It's like that should you should have targeted him and known, hey, this is a bad red zone team. They're bad against tight ends. We have 2 paid tight ends. Let's get them the ball. This might be the game to get them going. And they looked really good there. Jonnu Smith continues just to be non-existent.
Horrible.
I mean, it's like unbelievable.
I gotta look at the snap count. There was a play early in the first quarter where it was a short right pass for him, and he reached it, touched the ball, and dropped it. I think he had 2 targets in this game for 0 catches. He is a problem right now. I don't know what is going on, but he's signed for another 2 years.
And his money next year is still crazy bad. I looked at it. He's like 19 mil against as a dead cap hit if we want to cut him next year. It's insane. It's the worst contract I think we've ever signed anybody to.
Only had 28 snaps, 47% of the plays. That's a problem. You have to figure out a way to get him involved. And I know that the pass game is it was so much short stuff in this game, so many screens. I think Mac Jones had 12 screens in this game. At one point, it felt like that's all we were doing is running different kinds of screens, variations of really the same couple screens. And when you're running plays where it's designed to be, a screen or the play is supposed to be close to the line of scrimmage, the ball has to be perfect. If it's off one beat, then the defense is all over you. That's the disadvantage of running so much short stuff. It's got to be a perfect pass, and the timing has to be perfect on it. But yeah, you're right. They have to figure out something with Jonnu Smith. He's getting paid way too much money over the next 2 years that you have to. He's going to be on your roster. You have to find a way to use him and utilize that slot.
Absolutely. It's like between him and Nelson Aguilar, you're spending $30 million this year, and it's like, Aguilar had 10 targets last game. That's a lot for 5, and comes out with 32 yards. That's not That's not good at all. So between those two guys, you're spending that much money. And the thing in the first half is they had him in as the extra blocker all the time, and it wasn't just a bump and release. It was block and then after a two count release or something. It's like, get him out there, get him open. He's your number one target right now with all the injuries, and they finally started going to him. It just pisses me off that it took so long for them to get there. It's like that should have been the obvious one going into the game. I will say Mac looked pretty good. I'll give it to Mac. I think his fundamentals looked a lot better. He was setting his feet a lot better in this game. He had a lot more better throws. That were nice, on the money. I think he played a good game.
He was.
Yeah, you saw his frustration again. Yeah, that's what I was just going to touch.
Yeah, right.
He was not happy.
Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, well, we're all feeling it. Evidently, he's feeling it as well. They had the big play to Hunter Henry, which was cashed in by Kevin Harris with the touchdown. And then I guess it might have been Pierre Strong on that touchdown. But you see him embracing Matt Patricia on the sideline, and it's like, oh, now they're all good. It's like, nah, not all good. I mean, he's just reinforcing a couple good things that happened in the second half of that game.
Yeah, they're happy to win.
I think that was an attempt by Mac Jones to kind of make it look
bridge the
better.
gap.
Yeah, kind of show some better optics. Because I mean, he was screaming, "What the fuck are we doing?" Like, you could hear him multiple times screaming "fuck" on the broadcast. I mean, it was clear as day. You saw one time where he actually waved off Matt Patricia, like, good. "Hey, leave me alone." You know what I mean? Yeah, just totally disrespecting him. And, I'm okay with the disrespect. I don't think the body language is good. You would really hope that there's someone else there next season. The other thing I wanted to touch on was Marcus Jones played so much in this game that I don't think they really had an opportunity to use him on offense as much as they wanted to. He did get 8 snaps, but with Jack Jones going down with a knee, they had very few corners ready to go.
Yep.
It was Jonathan Jones who played every snap, Miles Bryant, and Marcus Jones. I think that's pretty much it for corners, right? Maybe. Oh, Sean Wade got a few plays and he got torched on one of them.
Oh, he did? I didn't even notice him in there.
Yeah, he got picked, and it looked way too easy to pick him. Jack Jones got hurt pretty early in this game too, so. But I do like to see him in there as kind of. You just don't. He's a weapon you have to account for. If you don't account for Marcus Jones, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that kind of sucked that Jack Jones got hurt, and you couldn't use him as much as you probably wanted to on offense.
I'm glad that they're trying to expand Marcus Jones' role in the offense because he's got that X factor that they don't have elsewhere. So you might as well. Nothing else is really working. Why not try a defensive player?
Try and get Thornton going a little more. 5 targets. He had 4 receptions.
I thought they tried.
They tried, but it's all short stuff. I mean, he had that one. He caught everything you threw to him. The one he just stepped out of bounds. That was the only real downfield pass he had. Everything else was like short in the box or like small amount of space. It's like that guy is a rocket.
He's so dynamic.
Get him in space.
I mean, he's so
even Aikman was talking about it. Aikman was like, I want to see more out of this kid. He's got all the tools, maybe in year 2, year 3. I'm like,
What
how
it-
about
Yeah.
now? He's already playing 70%
I mean,
of the
he's
snaps
got good
right now.
hands. Literally, he caught all 5 passes, all 5 targets. He caught them all. It's like, okay, that means the kid can
Yeah.
catch, and not going to make plays all the time. But it's like, how about you get him in space? You're trying to design plays for Marcus Jones to get into space, right? It's like, why aren't we doing the same thing for Tyquan Thornton? That's what you drafted him for. And Marcus Jones is, it's a nice gadget thing. You throw him in there, no one expects it, but like, get the Thornton downfield, throw him the ball, give him a 15-yard in cut or something where he just burns the guy and beats him at the cut. Like, there's got to be something. They're not really getting downfield, and that's the problem.
I think one of the problems there is deep plays take a little
Right,
bit
the
more
offensive
time
line,
to develop,
yeah.
and Mac Jones does not have a ton of time right now. Even with this kind of meager defense, they blitz a lot and they play a lot
They
of
do.
cover one, so
And they
so it's kind of a tough thing to let you could get little nicks and cuts on this team and beat them
Sure.
to death with that. You know what I mean? You don't have to gash them. I don't think that's a really particularly strong defense. This really lined up for the Patriots as far as
absolutely.
what they're good at, what we're good at, or not good
Plus
at.
their
It
quarterback goes down immediately, and that helps.
and the running back. Yeah, it's it was a good time to play them. And we seem to get a lot of these, right? Where it's like, oh, their quarterback's hurt, and you know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit of luck here, and we'll take it. But I don't think it's anything to really depend on come playoff time if we're still in the picture.
That's true. Yeah, they definitely got fortunate a number of times. Going back earlier this season, they got to face Zach Wilson twice, and they won't let him see anybody else. Deshaun Watson still suspended for Cleveland, the whole thing. But they come out of Arizona with a victory on the road, national television, and now they get a quick turnaround. Only 6 days to prepare for the Las Vegas Raiders coming up this weekend. But before we get there, we can talk about some other games from this previous week. First being the Las Vegas Raiders losing a heartbreaker on Thursday Night Football in LA, a home game for the Raiders in LA against the Rams. Baker Mayfield scores 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to take down the Raiders. I saw a stat: the Raiders have blown more 14-point leads this season than any team in NFL history.
Right.
That's crazy. That's crazy. How many times have they been?
That?
Dude, the Raiders have been up like 14, 17 points. I don't even know how many times
blowouts
this year.
It's like blowouts,
And
they lose.
yeah. And
they have the.
I'm kind of happy for Baker Mayfield though. That's a good place for him to land with the Rams.
Yeah, he wants to get some good tape out there. He's with a good offensive mind, probably a better offensive mind than he's ever been with.
And it shows.
And
it
then
immediately
maybe even though he was there for like 2 meals before that game, and then he'll hit free agency, and the Rams could use every draft pick they can possibly get. So maybe they get a conditional pick, depending on how he performs. We'll see. But yeah, tough one for the Raiders to drop right there. We could jump into some AFC East matchups. We had an interdivisional game on Sunday, Jets at Bills in a snowy game. One that I think we were all pretty confident the Bills were going to win, but the Jets kept it close for a good half there. And there was
decent game.
There was nothing happening in the first half. It was just all defense. And then Josh Allen was able to punch one in before the end of the first half, and they were able to win by 8 points at the end. Mike White getting hurt in the second half. But that Jets defense is legit.
Yeah. I mean, they kept it close. Buffalo is still, I feel like they tried their best to play a great game against us, and they kicked the crap out of us. They looked definitely a little sloppier in this. That could have been due to weather. But hey, the Jets are competitive, man. And I'm happy they lost, though. I'm happy the Jets lost because it keeps us, in the race, in the pennant race. We're in the friggin' playoffs as of right now, and a few teams have some tough schedules coming up, so I hope that keeps up. I'm happy the Jets lost.
Yeah. Buffalo's been struggling of late as far as passing the ball.
Except when they play us.
Josh Allen can still run. Right. 16 for 27, 147 yards, got sacked 3 times. I know Quinnen Williams got hurt in this game too, which is by far, I think, their best player on both sides of the ball, but it looks like he's practicing again. Um, the Jets will hang tough, man. I mean, if you let this team stick around, and eventually, Mike White, by the way, got hurt a couple different times badly in this game, and he gutted it out. He came back. He played his ass off. They like him a lot. They like him much better than they like Zach Wilson there.
The whole team does. It's not just the coaching
players,
staff.
Yeah, they talk about him like he's a hero. Like, I love it, man. They totally missed on that pick. There's something about Zach Wilson's mental that I don't think he's ever going to. Maybe, I mean, it's early to say this, but I just feel like there's something lacking there with his mental that's going to keep him from being as good as he could be.
Yeah, and you could say the broad mental, meaning also like the culture aspect, getting along with his teammates, lifting them up. You see the same thing. We've been saying it for years about Kyler Murray. It's the same issue. Kyler Murray's done it on the field way, way, way better than Zach Wilson, but in the locker room, they're two sides of the same coin. So the Jets will drop one there. That gets the Patriots into the 7th seed in the current playoff picture. Bills moving ahead, keeping a grasp on that number 1 overall seed in the AFC. And then Miami in a fun game that we're all really looking forward to, Sunday Night Football against the Chargers. We've seen the Chargers a number of times this year, and every time I watch the Chargers, I'm just like, give me more. Like, there's just more there, particularly on the offense. This time they did really well. I think Herbert played great. It still only winds up with 23 points. It's like that. His performance looked like it should have been a 32-pointer. Mike Williams was back for this game. Whenever Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are both out there, this offense is really good. Mm-hmm. But Miami, again, with another dud offensively. Tua did not look good. Brandon, I think they had like 25 passing yards going into the 4th quarter. It was something insane like that.
Basically saved my fantasy playoffs because he played so bad. I thought I was going to get blown out, but he was missing throws. He kind of looked like the old Tua, like what he was last year, not this year. And that's promising to see going forward. I hope that continues. So, they've got a tough schedule. They're kind of one of the ones I'm talking about right now. They have the 2nd seed or not the 2nd seed, 2nd wild card seed or 1st wild card seed right now. I don't know where they are in line, but they're right there, and they've got a tough schedule coming forward. So if they keep up that shoddy performance, their defense is okay. They did good in the second half, not really in the first half, but they kind of disappeared. The whole team just, this West Coast 2 games they had really kind of set them back, it seems, which is perfect that they're falling apart this time of the season.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill banged up his ankle like middle of the game, and he still ended up with a 60-yard fumble return or something like that for a touchdown and a 60-yard pass, and he was targeted 10 times. I thought Asante Samuel Jr. did a pretty good job on him. He had, I think, 4 catches for 81 yards on 10 targets. So they kind of, it's funny to say he's scored two touchdowns or whatever it is, but they kind of kept him in check a little bit. He's a serious problem to defend.
He limped into the end zone on that 2nd touchdown. And crazy. With him being less of a threat, it just craters that whole offense. He opens it up for everybody. Jalen Waddle was non-existent in this game. The running game couldn't get its footing. I don't even know who their lead back is right now, but neither one of them really looked good.
I thought the Chargers defense actually looked fairly decent in this game, and that might have been due to the Dolphins' struggles because the Chargers' defensive line is basically non-existent right now. So I feel like if the Dolphins had more of a running game, they would have been in better shape in this one. Justin Herbert, 51 passes. This guy they throw so much, man. They have to find out another. I know they use Eckler a little bit. I think he only had 15 rushes. It's just kind of the way they play, isn't it? Like they want to throw the ball a ton, and Herbert's so good. I don't even know how many good throws he made in this game. I lost count. He's just, we know I'm a huge fan. Just like so many good fucking throws, and out of that arm slot, it's awesome.
Yeah, Collinsworth was standing on the table commenting every Justin Herbert throw. He threw like a 6-yard out, and he's like, "That's the best throw." It's like, yeah, it was a 90-mile-an-hour fastball that he threw. Their offense is, I think it's going to be unlocked when they get a power back. If the person that Melvin Gordon was supposed to be, I think that would change their team offensively.
They drafted kid from Texas A&M there, Isaiah Spiller.
Oh, right.
And I think he only got. I did notice him though when he was in there. I think he only had 2 snaps, but that's a rookie with some juice. I don't know if they're going to use him. It doesn't really seem like it, but they definitely need something else besides Eckler. Eckler is so good in the pass game though. They threw a couple screens on him, and he's immediately making like really, really hard cuts to shake the first defender. He's probably the best pass catching running back in the league. I would put him in that conversation.
Eckler?
He's on the short list. I'm trying to think of other candidates, but he's definitely in that very short list. So right now,
maybe.
Kid from the Bills? I thought he was a receiver.
No, Chiefs. Chiefs. McKinnon.
Jerick McKinnon. Yeah, he scored 2 touchdowns this week.
Yeah, he's a good pass catching back.
So good. So the Patriots are at 7-6 in the final wild card spot. Also at 7-6, Jets and Chargers. So as much as we like Herbert, we might have to be rooting against him in the next couple weeks, depending on what you want to happen for the rest of the season in terms of the
honestly,
draft
I think it would have been better for us if the Dolphins won that game, right?
Well,
they would have put some distance between us and the Chargers.
You might be able to catch the Dolphins, though.
Listen to the Dolphins' schedule. They're going at the Bills on Saturday night this week. Then they're playing the Packers on Christmas Day, at the Patriots, playing the Jets in a game that maybe one of those teams makes the playoffs, maybe the other one doesn't. In that last game of the season, Dolphins have a tough road, and a lot of those games, cold weather for a Miami team.
On the sideline for this game in LA.
Yeah, that was such a talking point. I know it looks like it's covered, and it is, but the sides are open, so it's like 55 degrees on the field. 55 degrees.
So I believe we're ahead of the Chargers, and their remaining schedule is pretty easy. I mean, the Titans can lose. I don't know. I'm not a huge Titans believer.
Titans have lost the last 2, though, so they've got something to play for here.
That's what I'm saying. They don't scare me. They don't scare me. They're at the Colts after that. They're home against the Rams. Rams aren't the same. And then they're at Denver. Those are all winnable games for them.
Very much.
But Staley's good for at least
they're not out of the question yet.
No matter what he does.
Yeah. He just might. Another team that we really hoped was going to lose this weekend, Baltimore Ravens, backup quarterback in there, going into Pittsburgh. A game that I thought Pittsburgh was going to be able to handle. TJ Watt was going to be on the field. He really was not a factor. I don't even know if he played half the snaps defensively. But Kenny Pickett gets hurt in the first quarter. Trubisky comes in.
That dude had?
And Kenny Pickett? Hard to say. Hard to say. I'm sure Google knows, though.
But maybe I must be wrong.
Well, Mitch Trubisky didn't play a whole lot better. He was actually moving the ball decently well, which is something we've seen against Baltimore's defense this season. But 3 interceptions across the 50-yard line, like you're in field goal range for 2 out of those 3, and one of them you're at like the 45-yard line of the opposing team. Interceptions every single time. You're like, God, you can't keep. They end up losing by 2 points. It's like, just don't throw one of those. Can we cash in on one of those? And then Baltimore moves to 9-4 right now. So they got a pretty commanding position, 2-game lead on the Patriots and everybody else vying for that 7th seed in the wild card.
Yeah, I think it's going to take 9 wins. The 2 teams we really need to beat out that are in contention to really screw us over here are the Chargers and the Jets. And the Jets play the Lions next week. I'm going to look at who they have after that. But those are
I'd put the Dolphins in that mix too.
I put the Dolphins in there.
Yeah. I'd put the Dolphins in that mix.
And I mean, depending on
but I mean the Dolphins. Let's say the Dolphins get the playoff spot that they hold right now.
If they do,
it still leaves the say we flip flop with them. We're still battling them and the Jets. and the Chargers. It's going to be one. It's going to be two of those four teams, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Jets,
I wonder
the
if
Dolphins, and the Chargers.
I'm honestly wondering, depending on what happens with Lamar, the Ravens could fall.
It's just looking their position right now, being up 2 games on us. With only 4 games remaining, it looks like the Ravens and the Bengals, particularly the Bengals, are playing well right now. It looks like the Ravens do, the head-to-head tiebreaker. So they would have to lose
Falcons,
3, and we'd have to win all
Browns,
4.
Falcons, Steelers, Bengals. So
yeah,
I could see him definitely.
They're going to be
an outside shot.
Who knows though? Yeah, that's a tough one.
There's an outside shot for four other teams, really, but it's highly unlikely. Jacksonville, Vegas, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. They're all 5-8. So, probably highly unlikely. They would have to probably run the table to get the 9 wins. I think 9 wins is what gets you in.
Yeah, at least at a minimum, the way this is shaping up. So those are really the AFC games that had a bearing on the Patriots' playoff standings. In the NFC game, I was really looking forward to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers going to San Francisco. Only a second time ever playing out there, evidently. I'm not sure how that happened,
really?
But
that's amazing.
Yeah, he must. I think we probably went there in 2008 after he tore his ACL, and we probably went there maybe when he was suspended in 2016. I'm not sure, but
no, we didn't play him then.
It's surprising how infrequently this has happened, and he went out there, and the Buccaneers laid a dud. I didn't see the game live, but I watched the highlights. They were down 28-0 at halftime.
Dude, it was bad. I was watching that as much as I could here and there, and it was just their offense couldn't do anything, and somehow San Francisco just kept scoring. And it's like, how is this guy Brock Purdy keeping things together? Never mind. I think they scored. I don't know how many. What was it? 4 touchdowns in a row or something. It was.
Mm-hmm. That's what it looked like in the second quarter.
Over by the end of the first half, and you're like, well, if anyone could do it, it's Brady. And then they came back out, they scored, and then that was it. They couldn't do anything again. Their offense is dysfunctional.
They barely scored. That could have gone. That could have gone either way too. That touchdown they had. I mean, I was like, I don't know if he caught that. Yeah, they're 6-7. They are not good. Tampa Bay is just limping, and they're lucky that NFC South is so bad. Brady had a couple picks in this one. The picks cost him dearly in this game, and he's throwing a ton of passes. Their run game is 2 interceptions. He threw 55 times, man. That team, they have no running game to speak of, and their offensive line is not the same. I was expecting their offensive line to be good. Troy Aikman mentioned it in the broadcast. He's like, it's an epidemic. There's not enough time to get these guys on the same page when you draft these guys, because they cut the season. They cut the mini camps and all that shit. They cut it, so it's really like these guys are learning on the fly now.
And they dropped their starting center in the preseason. Right tackle went out early in the season.
I mean, I feel like
it's bad news for the Bucs.
Saying total, Ryan, to jump on your point there about the offensive line. I can't remember how many, in the past when you like this point in the season where I can't think of one offensive line that's fully healthy. I mean, I feel like everyone we've played, it's like the Cardinals. It's like they had 4 starters out. It's like they were on their last start, like their last of the last people on their roster to start at offensive line. And, we're not much better. And there's been a lot of teams that you're like, oh, this is a crappy. There's like no good offensive lines. It's like
Philadelphia. Yeah. you look at the best record in the
only one. Right.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
And I think
crap offensive line right now.
Detroit. Well, if Darisaw comes back, he's one of the best.
That's what I mean, because they're hurt. They're so hurt.
It seems like he's right. There's so many guys that are hurt. Tristan Wirfs not being there for Tampa is a huge loss. He's probably top 3, top 5 tackle in the league right now.
Right tackle,
that hurts. but I'm looking at their offensive line, and I just don't get why they're so bad because they do have some players there. It's really strange. I feel like it's
Shaq Mason's never been great in pass protection.
No, but he's fine. I mean, he's
fine.
a vet.
He's fine.
He's I wouldn't mind having Shaq Mason back right now. Not that I would play him over on Onwenu, but I'm sure you would find a place for Onwenu. He'd be a great right tackle.
He would change their offense, the Buccaneers' offense. That is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can't give him up.
At playing right tackle, he gives you a knockoff Tristan Wirfs. Yeah. So that was a very lopsided game. I kind of passed over the Chiefs and Broncos. I don't know if you guys saw much of that one, but the Chiefs go up 27-0 in this game.
Yeah, Broncos came back.
Denver scores 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes of the first half. Turns it into a game. Mahomes threw an interception, enabling the second touchdown. And then it goes all the way to the fourth quarter. And in the fourth quarter, Russell Wilson gets knocked out of the game with concussion, evidently, or a head injury at the very least. And they weren't able to pull it out. But it was a game where you expected Denver to continue rolling over the way they have the entire season, and they fought all the way back.
It was impressive. They almost did it, but the Chiefs just outlasted them.
Kansas City has this way of giving up. They're like, "Oh, we got you," and then they take their foot off the pedal. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Denver's horrendous. I think this is the best game Russell Wilson's had by a long shot, at least against a good team. So I don't know what
his most rushing yards on the season. His most rushing yards. It opens up that offense. He's got to do that.
Want to do it.
If he's available, obviously. Yeah, he doesn't want to.
There's a reason he got concussed. So.
Well, it wasn't when he was running the ball. That's the stick to it.
Oh, did you see Jerry Jeudy in this game?
Freak out.
Freaking out.
Lost his mind, right? Screaming at the ref, and then bumps the ref with his body.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Which
that clip.
I would assume is an automatic ejection. They're saying they're not going to suspend him, but they're going to give him a huge fine. You got to do something to discourage that. I'm surprised he's not getting suspended. But after that, he went ape. I think he had like 2 touchdowns after
he played great
that instance. Yeah. So something to look at. I think I would suspend his ass. I'm sorry. You can't do that.
I don't know how that ref didn't react after getting bumped by him with his helmet off, screaming, and then chest bumps him effectively.
Crazy.
Yeah. 2 NFC games real quick. Borderline upsets. Carolina goes into Seattle and actually down Seattle, who's on the way down slide after they were leading that division earlier this season. And then the Lions at home beating the Vikings in a game that actually Vegas predicted it.
Called that.
Both of those games. Did either one of those surprise you?
I mean, I'm surprised the Vikings.
The Carolina game surprised me.
I'm surprised by both of them. Carolina just gets rid of their quarterback and beats Seattle. Seattle is just can't get out of their own way. And then, Minnesota. It's like, what are you guys doing? Depending on what Philadelphia does, obviously they're running away with the top seed, but you guys are still in it. You won that game. You're a game out, effectively.
In a game that Justin Jefferson set the franchise record for receiving yards. He went off. It's not like they shut him down at all. He absolutely went off. But that Vikings defense is a serious liability.
They are.
It's not good.
Do
they have
to
Andrew
their
Booth
credit?
back?
I don't think so. No,
he's
rookie out of Clemson, cornerback.
Yeah, he's been out a lot. I think he's a first-round pick, too. They've had some serious problems there. And then, did you see that the coach, what's the coach's name there?
Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell, yeah. He said he was distracted.
The meathead. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, that's what I said. I like him. I like him, though,
I like him, too.
So he actually said in the media that the play to ice the game, I think it was a third down or
the field goal.
Down. No, it was a first down to ice the game.
Okay.
I believe. he said that he was too busy watching the crowd wave, and someone mentioned the play to him, and they were going to put Penei Sewell in the game as far as like an eligible receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this
And
play.
he said he
right
didn't
tackle
even
in
hear
motion.
Yeah, and he said he didn't even hear it. He was just like, "Oh yeah, okay. I'm too busy focused on this crowd wave that's going on." I can't believe he even said that out loud to the media.
He's
like,
just pandering to that Detroit fan base. I
was
gotta think
focused on
that.
the wave. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me, dude?" And there's no
That's
way.
So stupid.
Wow.
The Carolina game, change of mindset. I think they are running the ball like crazy, and that was the big difference in this game because Seattle's offense is so banged up as far as running backs right now. They lost Kenneth Walker. Who's the other guy? Penny. He's out. And Carolina ran the ball. I got to look at it. I'm sorry.
They got the early
ran
lead. I think they were up 13-0 early in this game. Puts you in a good position if you want to feed Deontay Foreman, Chuba Hubbard.
Right. They had almost 2/3 of possession, 39 minutes and 16 seconds worth of possession. They ran the ball 46 times for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns compared to Seattle with 14 carries for 46 yards. So it was just like a total, pivot. Like we're just running the fucking ball now.
That's the benefit of getting the early lead.
Yep.
That's a huge benefit.
And a total
that people
different
overlook.
mindset. Total different mindset for that Carolina team right now. And Seattle's been no slouch this year, but their run defense looked awful in that game.
Yeah. Carolina, they're not that far behind the Buccaneers. 1 game back in that division. I don't know what the tiebreakers, how they break out, but
crazy.
Wow. 1 game back.
Uncharacteristic Seattle team, 31st in rushing defense for Seattle. Isn't that odd? You wouldn't.
No, yeah, you'd think.
You would not think that.
As a defensive coach, generally.
And 21st against the pass. Their defense is not very good.
Yeah, they're really creating right now, and the Lions are surging. Lions have won 5 out of 6 games, and really should be 6 out of 6 if they took care of business on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
All right.
They're playing
Pats
well.
Raiders.
Pats Raiders.
Somehow the Patriots get screwed on the rest going into this game. So we're on Monday night to Sunday. The Raiders are coming off previous Thursday to Sunday. They get that extra time, as if they need that for Josh McDaniels to get ready to face his old team. So if he doesn't know intimately, particularly this offense, but probably the entire team. I got to say, I don't really know what to think of these Raiders. There was a stretch there for a couple weeks where we were like, are they good? I'm not sure. They won a couple overtime games. They got a couple wins in a row. And then they just continue to have these just fall apart in critical instances. Right now, a couple things to say about them. Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller have been out for a while. They both just got activated from IR this week. Does not mean they're going to play, but it means they could practice. So they might play, they might not. And then the Raiders, I mean, basically the stamp on this team is behind that defensive front four. They are terrible, just really horrendous at the second and third levels defensively. Their pass defense, the statistics back that up. And then also they don't turn the ball over, but they don't take the ball away either. So this is an opportunity to protect the ball offensively, although we really haven't won many games when we're not taking the ball away defensively.
Yeah,
I don't really know where this comes out for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's
they are the.
It's in
They're 29th in the NFL in pass defense.
29th, yeah,
Bottom four.
I mean, basically to me, it's they can score. Josh McDaniels is their coach. All the games you look at that they won, the lowest total was the Broncos' second time at 22 points. Usually, all the other games they've won have been 27 points or more. But then they get shut out against good defenses. It seems like if they come against a decent defense, they have a tough time. But they can definitely put up some points. But yeah, their defense is a sit. they've blown so many fourth quarters. I think you said it's the most of all time. They needed that Rams game to kind of keep them going. And it's amazing, too, because, Derek Carr, I thought, was pretty decent quarterback. And statistically, he's not that bad. His completion percentage is down a little bit this year. Josh Jacobs is a force at running back, and Devontae Adams is a force at receiver. And that's kind of it. I mean, I'm not too afraid of them. We should win this game. Like, we should win this game. I don't think there should be any question of us not winning it. It's really if we can go in there, like you said, Sean, turn the ball over, maybe keep making some small baby steps with our offense, and this is the game. Even if you get down, you're always in it because they've blown so many second half leads. So I think we should take it, but it's if you lose it, you're out. Any game you lose going forward, besides you got one to lose basically, most likely.
Bills.
Probably the Bills week 16.
It's got to be the Bills.
Week 17, unless they're not playing because, of their seating, which I've heard is a rumor out there. They're looking for guys, a place to rest their guys, and that would be it. So, if that happens, hopefully you get there and you don't have any losses. Hopefully you beat, Oakland, Bengals, and Dolphins, which are all possible wins. Bengals are going to be tough, but I don't know. The Raiders, it's who's going to show up. We have a couple guys coming back. Barmore was practicing. I heard Stevenson is still practicing.
Mm-hmm.
There might have.
No, he's out.
He didn't practice today?
Stevenson mispracticed.
Oh, God.
I think
he was
came in and tried a little bit. I think he was limited and he couldn't go. So
okay,
that's a loss. When I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the turnover battle. The offense has the second most turnovers in the league for the Raiders, and their defense has the second to last most turnovers in the league. So you can definitely beat them there. You can pass on this team for sure. They're not a good pass defense. They haven't been for a while. And then I'm looking at their injury report, and there's 26 guys, including injured reserve, on their list, including a quad for what's his name, the running back,
Josh
Jacobs.
Yeah, who to me is their tempo guy. Like if they have him performing at a high level, then it's much easier to get Devontae Adams involved. They have who's the Max Hollins? Is that who's been making some big plays of late? So it's a team that has some weaknesses that you can attack, and it probably lines up well for us. Darren Waller, you say coming back, that's not great. Hunter Renfrow, you wonder if these guys are going to be, able to really get out there and give it their all. But when you look at the weaknesses of this team, I think it lines up. It's not good. I think they have Illuminor as their starting right tackle. It's like I remember Illuminor. He is not a starting right tackle. So there's some things we can attack here, and the Patriots are staying out there. They're staying on the West Coast. They're practicing in Tucson right now, and I know we got some quite a few injuries going on here, but it looks like Barmore could be activated this week. He's been out for about 2 months. That would be a huge guy to get back. McCourty seems to have dodged a bullet there. It looked like he got hurt late in the game, and it looks like he's going to be able to go. I didn't see him on today's injury report. It would be really nice to get Jalen Mills back. Someone that can, because right now it's looking like you're going to have Jonathan Jones on Devontae Adams, and I don't care who it is really. Devontae Adams is better than anyone we have. So
this is true. Jalen Mills practiced in a limited fashion today. And Vegas's starting right guard, Alex Bars, was out of practice.
No good. So they're bad.
That's something.
One question I
got for this game is which team's pass rush is going to dominate the other team's offensive line more? And right off the bat, you're like, oh, Max Crosby, Chandler Jones. Patriots offensive line has been a train wreck for the majority of the season. But then you look at the way that Josh Uche is coming on right now. And the last two
Fantastic.
games have maybe the best games Uche has played as a pro. If
He's got 10
Judon
sacks.
In what, 8 weeks?
if Judon's able to play at the level we're used to, I know he only played like 70% of the snaps last week. He still was really good when he was out there. I mean, we might have a really good chance to put some serious pressure. One thing that Derek Carr does, I think, better than Mac Jones on typical drop back passes is the ball comes out faster. If you look at the stats, Mac Jones is probably skewed by a lot of those screen passes where it's coming out really quickly.
Yeah.
And we've taken more sacks than the Raiders have taken this season, but I got to think we got a pretty good chance to put some serious pressure on them. And if they're not going to get pressure in the first 3 seconds against us, that's when you expose the back end. And the Patriots defense has a way better back end than this Raiders defense. And I think that's the difference.
I agree with you. I was going to say that.
I think we just have
with their offensive line being as bad as it is, and their right guard being out or whatever. You got Uche and Judon, which is great. I do like Ukulele or whatever his name is. He's kind of
Equality. He had 2 huge
He's
plays
coming on
last week
as kind of an interior
back-to-back
pass rusher. We haven't seen much from Wise in the last couple of weeks, but if you get Barmore back and he's your interior rusher, look out. Now you got 3 studs there that are coming after you, especially on an offensive line. I mean, this could even be something. If those 3 guys are healthy and Equale's there, or Wise, comes back to his, form a few weeks ago, that's something you can build on for the next few weeks, because that is deadly up front for us, crushing other teams' offensive lines. So that'd be great.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a wash, though. If you compare, Uche and Judon versus Crosby and Chandler Jones, and they also blitzed Denzel Perriman a ton. I think he has 41 blitzes on the year. And then we don't have Trent Brown, who's, I don't know. He's okay, right? We saw him last week. He seems okay. Isaiah Wynn's not practicing.
I think Isaiah Wynn's done
McDermott,
on this
Connor
team.
McDermott? Is that his name?
Connor McDermott.
You might think so, but I mean, he is practicing. I mean, I don't know.
Wynn's practicing?
It's kind of a wash. If everything was healthy, if everybody was healthy, I would probably say we have the advantage. Kajust is out still. We'll see how it goes. Maybe that changes later in the week. We don't have Damian Harris practicing. Was he a full practice participant this week?
Ramondre was sitting out for the majority of practice. Damian was limited.
And Ramondre's a good blocker too. He's developed into a pretty decent blocker out of the backfield. I don't know what Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris give you there as far as picking up blockers. It's kind of a big unknown for us, right, as far as blocking out of the backfield.
Huge unknown. Would love if Jonnu Smith has been studying us.
I was just going to say that. It would be nice to have Jonnu Smith in the backfield just to pick up blitzes. Why can't we give him that role?
And just leak out. And just leak out afterwards.
Anything productive for this team would be fantastic for him.
If you could find a way to use him as like a fullback, and give him some blue routes where he chips out and then he becomes available, I think that's a perfect role for him. Get him into space.
It's better than what he's doing now.
And we know what he can do in space. It's just very, I don't know, what's the opposite of creative? Uncreative. I mean, that's what that's what our playbook is right now, right? It's like we're gonna run this variation of this fucking bubble screen. It's not even bubble screens half the time. There's no protection. So, yeah. I do think
the other half of what I'm hoping for in this game is that by them spending a week together in Arizona on site, wherever they're at, that they could come together and have more of a training camp vibe. I just don't know if that's the issue with this team, is that they're not together. I think the issue is that the offensive players don't believe in the offensive staff.
It's a buy-in.
I don't know.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't think that comes together.
I mean,
under these circumstances,
we've been talking about that all season.
It's 100% buy-in.
You're hearing that, now in the national media, basically, that Mac's been, put out there with no one to back him up. in terms of a coach or coaching system. We've been talking about it. It's pretty obvious to see. And the biggest problem is that it's your offensive line and your offensive scheme, and they're both being run by the same guy. And it's like it'd be really hard, from the outside looking in. It's already hard to be like, how can one guy have two jobs and both of them be doing so poorly that we don't make improvements or changes or what have yous? And we're still there. We're still at this point. I mean, it must be frustrating for players. There are reports this week that players are asking, want coaches to coach them harder and make them more accountable for timing and splits and spacing and all that stuff that they have said they've been overlooking, and the coaching staff has been overlooking. That does not sound like a Bill Belichick coach team. That's a scary thought.
Overlooking or don't know what you're looking for might be that's the question.
Don't know what you're looking for sounds accurate. I mean, the depth route, especially when I watch that breakdown with Kurt Warner, the depth route is all over the joint. And it makes you think like these guys weren't told specifics. You know what I mean?
9 steps versus
you need to be
steps,
extremely specific.
Whatever.
Right. 6 yard versus 8 yard, get some separation there, maybe get a pick. It's like I haven't seen any of that this year as far as picks, and it doesn't have to be intentional. It's just the way the play is designed. It doesn't have to look like I went to go pick the guy,
Right. You're talking about rub routes.
Yeah, rub routes. That's something and they run so much 11 personnel, 3 wide. And you see all these guys on the same side of the field, and they never do that on this team right now. And it's, this slot's
I think they just put up the route chart, and they go, okay, these are our routes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you run a 7, you run a 7, you run a 9, and this guy runs a 5. And it's like, no, there's nuances off of that. You either release inside or outside. Maybe you don't break that 7 at 12 yards. Maybe you do it at 8 yards, and the other guy does it at 12 yards, whatever it is.
Or,
it's like there's no nuance.
Or, hey, you key on this option right here. You watch this player, and whatever he does, you do the opposite. If this guy's going to shade you outside, you run a slant or whatever. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem to be that. And you hear it to a man about people that everybody but Keyshawn Johnson can see it. It's like the way these players
Keyshawn Johnson's not seeing it?
No, Keyshawn Johnson, it's like, oh, it's Mac Jones. And it's like, no, you got to look at the plays, dude. You can't look at the just stat line. You know what I mean? So it's really frustrating when you hear people that actually like know football and know how to play quarterback talk about it.
Yeah,
you can totally hear it in their tone and their voice.
Absolutely.
What they say.
And I mean, just on the Troy Aikman's.
It's an absolute
Troy
mess.
Aikman's up there in the booth, like they're like, well, don't this has been talked about. If they do well, don't really harp on it. But those national broadcast guys, they don't usually shit on you too much. They try and find positives throughout the broadcast, unless it's terrible. And Troy Aikman was up, going on about it, like, him and Joe Buck about, it must be frustrating. They clearly don't trust him. There's nothing downfield. It's very obvious.
Right.
And it's like week after week.
How many times during the broadcast?
We're hearing this, and it's now become a thing, and it's too bad that's, we all saw it coming. We just hoped it wouldn't be this bad. Now it's this bad. It is. So we'll see where it goes.
I've never heard during a broadcast a commentator say, it must be frustrating for Mac Jones. Like, it must be frustrating for this quarterback. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think he said it 3 or 4 times. Like, I get it. It must be frustrating for him.
Like,
and
it's not, you hear a lot of the times from these guys, like, oh, they're not putting him in the best position to be successful, stuff like that. But, like, flat out just being like, yeah, I see why he's pissed off. I'd be pissed too. It's like, oh, okay, Jesus.
Yeah.
So,
but given all that, the Patriots find themselves 7-6 going against the 5-8 Las Vegas Raiders.
What are you picking?
Josh McDaniels had success against the Patriots when he was with Denver, at least in that first matchup. I just
Did
don't.
he play us more than once?
No, that was it.
That was it. Okay.
That was it. Just he might have played us when he was the O
Rams.
coordinator with the Rams.
Mhm.
I believe that would have been 2012. I think that game was in London. But in terms of this game, if we have, I think a critical piece is if we have Ramondre or Damian Harris. If we have one of those guys at 80+%, I feel really good about our offense. If we don't,
Yeah.
and we're trotting out two rookie running backs who we basically just saw for the first time last week, I feel pretty. I got some butterflies in my stomach about this. Given all that, I do think we have the edge based on we have a top 5 defense. The Raiders have a bottom 5 defense. Also, the Raiders bottom 6 in the NFL in red zone conversion percentage offensively, bottom 4 in the NFL defensive red zone conversions.
Right.
So they give up touchdowns, they don't score touchdowns. Not saying that we're going to be really able to take advantage of scoring touchdowns, although last week we were 50%. That was pretty good given our standards. But I think we'll be able to hold them out of the end zone and force more field goals. I do think Josh McDaniels will take the field goals inside the dome with Daniel Carlson, who's got an all-league leg. But I got to think that the Patriots are going to be able to pull this one out. And I'm going 24-23.
Wow. Close game.
Okay. Tight one.
Yeah.
I
Tight
think
one.
we're going to do it. I think we're going to keep ourselves alive. I just, I've been a fan. I've tried to be a fan of the Raiders all season long because I like a lot of their players. There's a lot of Patriots ties there. Old Oakland, the Raiders, the Black Hole, a lot of fun stuff to root for, some entertainment there. And they've just disappointed me at every turn. Like, it has been hard to be like, these guys might be good. They're not good. They're terrible. We should win this game. Weather's not a factor here. Like you just rattled off all their stats. I don't think they're going to. I think we're going to win, keep ourselves alive. 23-13 Patriots.
23-13. Okay. My biggest question marks right now are the availability of Jalen Mills and Jack Jones. I think we need someone besides Jonathan Jones to step up here. Maybe it could be Marcus or Miles Bryant. I don't know. On the other side of the ball, I'd love to see those running backs back. That would be huge. I am concerned about their pass rush a little bit, especially with the health of our offensive tackles. But I think we match up well. I think we might be able to pass the ball a little bit. Get Jonnu Smith involved would be fantastic. Hunter Henry, utilize those tight ends. I think this is a great game for that. And I think I'm going to go Pats 23-16. Big win on the road, coming back, get 2 wins from this road trip, and then prepare to move forward and really get into crunch time. And if you come out of this 8-6, I'm feeling good. Like we need to get 1 win from Miami, Buffalo, or Cincinnati, and those are all tough matchups. But if we can squeak one out there, that would be nice.
No doubt. All of us got 23 in the score. How about that? Okay, let's just take a quick look around the rest of Week 15. Dolphins playing the Bills in Buffalo Saturday night, outdoors. Supposed to be snow. Last I checked the forecast. Tyreek Hill coming off the ankle. Tua Tagovailoa coming off of 2 pretty dreadful performances. It's got to be Bills all day, right?
I'd be stunned if the Dolphins pull this one out. A night game in Buffalo. It's going to be fucking freezing.
Yeah, that weather is a huge advantage.
They don't have a chance. Coming off 2 losses.
Anything to slow down those receivers.
They don't have any momentum going into this game. I don't think the Dolphins have a chance.
How about that? Okay.
Yeah.
The other AFC East game, the Jets are hosting the Lions. Again, the Lions on a pretty good streak right now. I believe 4 straight. I said 5 out of 6, so I don't know how the breakdown goes on either side of that loss to the Bills. But playing the Jets, Mike White currently questionable. Zach Wilson moved up to backup in this game. Outdoor game for a dome team. Jared Goff historically has had trouble in the cold weather. I think it's a coin flip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost leaning
Yeah.
Lions. I know it's an outdoor game for the
I'm leaning
Lions.
Lions.
Jets having quarterback issues. Mike White might not be healthy. You don't know what you're going to get from him if he's out there. I don't think anyone. I mean, the Lions have proven they can score, and Goff has seemed to look pretty good, especially of late, the last so many weeks. I mean, it could be a shootout. The Jets always kind of play. It seems like they are a team that plays to the level of the competitiveness of the game type of thing. So I don't know. I could see them dropping a dud. They were close last week. The Lions, I don't know. I want them to lose heavily, so that's tough for me to
Yeah.
take that
Yeah.
out of it.
I thought the Jets got pretty banged up last week. They had a few injuries. I don't know if DJ Reed's probably okay by now.
Quinnen
The
Williams
Lions-
got bounced out of that
You're
game.
right, that's
huge.
Quinnen Williams did get bounced out, but I think I didn't see him on the injury report this
Okay.
week. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm looking at reference, so I'm not really sure. But the Lions are getting it together at the right time. They're on a nice little run here. I like the way Jared Goff is playing. They just got Jameson Williams back. I think he scored a touchdown, a 41-yard touchdown in the first quarter. Granted, it was a blown coverage. Him and Amon-Ra St. Brown, you put, I'm sure they put Sauce Gardner on St. Brown, and they leave DJ Reed with Jameson Williams and the other guys they got there. But I'm just feeling good about the Lions right now, man. I like where they're going. I like where the team's playing hard. They compete every week. I like the Lions, man. I think this is a team that could potentially sneak into the playoffs.
They're still alive.
Yeah. Good to see Jameson Williams get on the field, get a touchdown. Quinnen Williams for the Jets is 50-50, evidently.
Ooh, that's a big loss if he can't play, man. That is a stud. That's your best player by far, I think. I think he had 2 sacks last week, too.
Best player in the entire team.
Yeah, maybe the best defensive tackle in the league. He's up there, right, in that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Donald being hurt confuses
Dexter
that
Lawrence
picture.
from the Giants. I mean, there's a lot of good defensive tackles, but I would put him in that conversation with anyone.
Yeah, as much as I hate Christian Wilkins, I thought he played fantastic for the Dolphins.
Is he a defensive tackle though? I feel like they move him around. They play him on the edge a little bit.
I mean, if you're 6'3", 300 pounds, I figure you're a defensive tackle.
There's a gray area with defensive tackles and DNs now. The way the NFL uses edge rushers. Yeah, it's kind of like, you could.
J.J. Watt was that guy for me, where I'm like, I know he's playing defensive end, but he's 6'5", 3 bills, and then he shifts inside.
They used him on that C gap all the time. Like nowadays,
all the time.
You're seeing these big guys that are defensive ends or whatever they were drafted as, and they're lining up in the B gap and just over the guard, and it's like what is he playing? And it's really hard to put tight. It's becoming almost like basketball where it's almost positionless.
Yeah, we're moving towards there are defensive linemen, there are edge players, and there are linebackers. And it used to be defensive tackle, defensive end, outside linebacker, inside linebacker. There was all these different. Nose tackle was a defined position. Mm-hmm. Now we're down to 3.
Well, there's still some of those. There's still some of those fatties in there.
There's a couple of those when you look around, you see them every so often. You're like, oh, I'm good. I'm glad to see you.
Yeah,
Vince
Ted Washington, I know what you are.
Vince Wilfork is an NFL Hall of Fame finalist. I'm really happy for him.
That's awesome. He deserves it.
Another game that can affect Patriots playoff standing. Titans at Chargers in this game. It's an odd matchup. Chargers coming off a big win. Titans coming off of 2 tough losses. Titans do what the Chargers don't want to play against, which is running the ball. Chargers don't defend the run. Titans only want to run the ball. And conversely, the Titans don't defend the pass very well.
Or
the
pass
Chargers,
very well.
Yeah,
it's totally opposite teams.
But they are so opposite. It's really weird to see. Mike Vrabel is a fairly traditional coach. Brandon Staley is fully embracing the modern NFL coaching mantras of analytics and going for a 4th down, all those things we've talked about ad nauseum. but it's just the exact opposite teams facing each other. I wonder if they're foils, and it'll be a 1-point game.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's unusual to see two teams like this team's 31st in pass defense, and this team's what, first or second, maybe third, the Chargers. And then conversely, like all the Titans do is run and defend the run, and the Chargers pretty much suck at both. It's so weird. This is a weird one, man.
Yeah, I think if I had to choose, I would take the Chargers just based on the Titans' recent history.
I was going to say I'm going to take the Titans.
And the fact that they're in LA.
They've come off of 2 losses, and it's like Mike Vrabel usually puts things together and beats other crappy coaches. But that's my...
Yeah. I don't
Brandon Staley might have just had his best coaching effort last week.
Yeah.
The way that he shut down the Dolphins offense.
We give Vrabel people give Vrabel a lot of love. Like some of their losses this year have been like pretty shitty. You know, they've had a couple shitty. They lost to Jacksonville and
by like
the Raiders.
2 scores.
Yeah, and the Raiders. So it's like, you know, I don't want to pump Vrabel's tires. I think he's a pretty good coach, but I'm not convinced he's like a huge advantage over Staley. I'm going to go Chargers in this one. I know they're at home, and their home field is not a great advantage because they just moved there and they don't have a huge following in LA. But
it's clean turf. Man.
It's clean turf. Is that what it is? Clean turf?
Well, if you were playing in Tennessee in December, it might be muddy and nasty, and you'll lose some of those cuts that Keenan Allen's able to make, and it really becomes a Derrick Henry game.
I heard that teams are going to be forced to switch to grass. Did you hear that?
It seems like there's a push from the players for that.
Well, after seeing the Arizona game,
used to hear
everyone seemed to get hurt in that. I mean, a couple of them were from people.
Arizona has grass.
On them. Was that what it was? Well,
they have grass.
I don't know why everyone's...
They literally wheel the field outdoors to give it sun. Oh. And then wheel it back inside.
Sounds ridiculous.
They pump in crowd noise too, but that's a different story. Now, did you? I remember hearing that the artificial turf, like the new school artificial turf, was supposed to be better for injuries. It doesn't really seem like there's the data.
It's better than old school artificial turf than like AstroTurf.
Yeah,
on cement.
AstroTurf is, if you played mini golf, AstroTurf is mini golf. That's all it is.
It's basically like plastic over concrete, right?
Essentially.
It's miserable. It absolutely tears you up.
I fell on it at Northeastern University, and it fucking hurt worse than grass by far. So I can see that.
It's so bad. Yeah, so field turf, the newer stuff that's got the rubber pellets, is certainly an upgrade from that. But there is statistically significant findings that field turf has more injuries than natural grass. And that's a pretty...
I love natural grass.
I like natural grass too. I think it's
dirty.
That's
muddy.
A big thing that the players can bring to collective bargaining and say, look, it's statistically significant. That is difficult to say. That we're not going to get hurt.
I would take that. I would say have your natural grass, but we're extending mini camp and all that shit to get you guys on the same page because this offensive line play is really hard to watch. That's my point.
Good overarching solutions right there. Baltimore playing Cleveland on Saturday afternoon. Baltimore again has a chance to lose a game that could potentially help some other teams to get wild cards.
Bring them on.
Cleveland, Deshaun Watson. I mean, there's the open question of how long can you be out of football until you need. I don't know. You look terrible. Exactly.
I would have maybe thought about bringing him back next year. You know,
seems like the answer is 2 years.
Yeah,
he doesn't really look the same, does he?
No, and I haven't heard anybody make this comparison. It just came to me, but when you talk about the teams that worked out Colin Kaepernick after he was out for like I'm not comparing their off-field situations, but after he was out of the league for like 4 or 5 years, and they're like, oh yeah, let's work him out. Maybe he's good enough. It's like, your skills and your senses and your reflexes are going to decay significantly over that period of time. I don't care how old you were
Right.
when you started
Especially
that
when you're not
hiatus
doing that stuff.
or what the reasons were
Right.
for it.
There's nothing
Yeah.
that can, you get reps for an actual NFL game. He's just been out. Deshaun Watson's just been out, what, 2 years now?
2 years.
So it could take him some time. Yeah, I would have,
Yeah.
like Rye said, at least waited this year. Let Brissett just kind of finish out the year and then go from there. But they got too much money invested in him, so they got a plan. Hopefully he comes alive and he freaking he beats the Ravens. Gives us some more chances here.
That'd be huge. That'd be huge. Also
Yeah,
in that, go ahead.
What's the status with Lamar? I see he's a DNP again, and Tyler Huntley's got a concussion. So just based off of that, and Ronnie Stanley's out again. What is this, a rest? Limited resting him? Just based off of that, I'm going Cleveland.
Yeah. Ronnie Stanley did play last week. They might just be managing his workload.
What does NIR mean? Do you know?
Not
NIR
injury
dash
related.
Rest. Okay, rest.
Not,
okay.
Not injury related.
Gotcha.
Also in the AFC North, Cincinnati going to Tampa in a game that Tampa Bay could really use. And Cincinnati's been playing well. They didn't play, they weren't gangbusters last week against the Browns. They handled the game, but I got to think they're going to take care of business because that Tampa team is a wreck. But that Tampa team has everything to play for right now.
They do. I mean, it's tough to pick against Tom Brady, but they were missing so much last week. The week before, they needed to the last 4 minutes basically to try and win the game and get 2 touchdowns. It's like unless they're getting a very loose defense where Brady can pick it apart, they don't have a chance. He doesn't have the time. His timing's off with people. He's missing throws. Guys are missing dropping a lot of passes on him. Their defense is not the same unit for whatever reason as last year. The Bengals are rolling right now. The Bengals are getting hot. And last year we saw what they could do when they get hot. Jamar Chase is now back. He's rolling. I think that's a tall glass of water to drink for Buccaneers, and I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a game where I'm looking at the running game for Cincinnati, and I'm not really sure if Joe Mixon's still hurt or not, but that seems to be the difference, right? Because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, they have been passing. They pass a lot, and then maybe that's why their yards are so high. I think they're 5th in the league in passing, but that's all they do. They can't rush the ball. I think they might be 32nd in rushing, and then that's the weakness of their defense. So I think if Joe Mixon can get healthy for this game, then, and even if they don't, there's something dysfunctional about Tampa Bay down there, and I think the Bengals are rolling right now. I'm gonna take the Bengals.
Yeah, definitely. Joe Mixon did play last week against the Browns, so he's back. He did split some carries with Samaje Perine, who's been coming on as of late.
Perine
is the way I've heard it said since his Oklahoma days.
Gotcha.
And then Sunday night we got the Giants at the Washington Commanders in a rematch of that overtime tie a couple of weeks ago. It looks like, based on the standings right now, one of these teams is going to make the playoffs. The other one is not going to. We'll see.
I think the Giants are cooling down at the wrong time, and the Redskins / Guardians / Commanders / football team. They're
Guardians.
Whatever, dude. They're heating up at the right time, and they're going to get Chase Young back at some point. I don't know if it's this week or next week, or if they even going. I mean, I would think if they're going to make the playoffs, then he should be trying to get in shape. I don't like what's going on with the Giants, so I'm going to go and take the Guardians.
Yeah, I'm not.
Commanders.
I'm with you. I feel like the Giants have just kind of been, sizzling out there. They have been playing a lot of good football. Their coach has really gotten them. He's really got them to play well. I just think it's kind of running out of steam, the whole thing. And the Commanders. I'll pick the Commanders. Why not? It's been a long time since you saw anyone from their position do anything. So, or from their team do anything.
You should.
Yeah.
You should. The Giants have lost 4 of their last 6 games, and their victory came against the Texans, and then they tied the Commanders, and that rounds out the last 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a tough month and a half for Giants fans after a really promising month and a half that was honestly overachievement.
Yep, absolutely. So there you have it.
All right.
Real quick, I saw a article. I feel like it would be the right thing to do to touch on it. The NFL legend Don Shula, when he quit the Dolphins job, it was due to his owner telling him that he wanted replacements in his coaching staff and the personal staffs, and basically Don Shula's reply to that was that he wouldn't scapegoat anyone, and he retired after 33 years of coaching to not throw anyone under the bus. So, like, I think that's relevant here, right, to what we're seeing with Belichick and Matt Patricia, and what I think Bob Kraft is probably going to have to do after this season is say, this offense is not what I paid for. It's not. We drafted a quarterback in the first round. We paid all these guys in the offseason 2 years ago. I think there's a lot of parallels there with what happened at the end of Don Shula's career. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely super interesting. You sent me that article, and some of the stuff is like, exactly what's going on now with the Patriots. The difference to me is, I don't know what Shula's staff looked like there. There weren't a lot of names dropped, but Bill has so many of his family members and personal friends in the Patriots. It's like, and he's really close to that, to Shula, obviously. Ironically, it's Don Shula. He's close to getting the most wins of all time, beating him out for that. So, and Bill wants that. It's pretty clear he wants that. He hasn't said it, but he's kind of hinted at it. And if he takes another job, like, he would take another job. I don't think he would just retire. He would go somewhere else. And for him to just, 2 of his kids, take them off this coaching staff, bring him to another one, they all have to move. I think Bill's happy here. He's got his place in Martha's Vineyard. He likes Boston. He's been here. All of his family members are here. I feel like it would be a big uprooting, and if they were like, if Kraft came to him and said, hey, change the offensive coordinator, I think he would do it. I really do. I'd be surprised if he was that stubborn to be like, screw off.
I wonder if they've ever had a conversation like that, where it's like, I want you to do this on your staff. And I'm sure Bob Kraft, he seems like he is like master of relationships. And I bet it would probably start with, hey, Bill, what do you think was the problem this year? And it eventually might get to the point where he's like, yeah, we've got a first round quarterback and we've got all this money tied up in skill positions, and we still finished in the bottom 6th. So do you think Mac Jones is a bust? No. Do you think that these skill position players were terrible? No. Okay, then is it coaching? Because this is a refrain of Michael Lombardi. It's either players, coaches, or schemes. It's one of those 3. So take your pick. And it can be more than one. But if it gets down to it and you got to lay the cards on the table, I would find it hard to believe that Belichick would walk out the door versus admit that Matt Patricia is over his head as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think it's something that he should be able to look at objectively and be like, you're right, to some degree. But I also think Bill Belichick's flaw, his biggest character flaw, is pride. So, when you look at him and the way he's done things here, and been so successful, you would hope he would be able to be objective about it and be like, hey, this is not working. We need to do something. And then the other thing that really scares me is I think if they brought a Bill O'Brien in, there would be guarantees that he would be, and this is just what I'm hearing in the media, that he would be the next coach of the Patriots.
Oof.
Head coach.
That was before.
After it's done, and that might put Belichick.
I don't know. I feel like that's.
I would like to see Gerard Mayo get that. if anybody's going to get that, I would think Gerard
I think
Mayo.
if they brought Bill O'Brien back, then there would have to be that kind of guarantee. The success he's had at Penn State, Alabama. I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
granted, bit of a
yeah.
down
I
year.
mean, I feel like you would bring Bill O'Brien in. I don't know. This like you're gonna be the next head coach for this team. I feel like that's a really weird thing to promise somebody coming from college. I mean, I've heard that people say that too. Like, oh, if you bring Bill and O'Brien and you're gonna have to give him some guarantees. It's like, why? Why do you have to give him like what other guarantee? Unless he gets a head coaching job, it's like he's either getting head coaching calls, which I don't think he is, and then that's it. He got he's already out of your market, or he's in the offensive coordinator market, and it's like, yeah, we want to bring you back. Like if you get a better opportunity, we know you're gonna leave, but
it could be
we want you here.
It could be a Sean Payton kind of thing too. It doesn't have to necessarily be Bill O'Brien, but I'm just saying, like,
don't tease me.
At some point, there's got to be some kind of recognition that the team isn't going in the right place, and that's what matters more. I don't care. I love Belichick, man, but we don't owe him anything. And if we're just trying to get him a record instead of being competitive and winning the Super Bowl, which is what we all want, and right, I don't really care about a personal record. I would rather build a team that could win a Super Bowl and have a functional offense and defense. So I don't know. Yeah. It's just something I read that really piqued my interest, and it felt eerily similar to what kind of the Patriots are going through right now.
Yeah, that is. I just looked it up. Don Shula, that was his last season with the Dolphins, 65 years old, retired with the most wins in NFL history, a record that still stands for head coaches. Belichick, now 70 years old, 70 plus. So it's very similar in terms of the stage of their career that potentially could happen in. For JJ's point before, I would point out that the Belichick sons, who both coach defense has been a very strong performer this year. It's really having those old assistants to be out of position coaching offense. That's the real issue.
I agree, but I just think if you have the first ranked defense and the 32nd ranked offense, there has to be, and I'm not saying we're 32nd, but there's got to be some kind of compromise there where, like, hey, we just drafted a quarterback in the first round. We spent all this money on pass catchers, and we're not seeing any dividends from it. So,
yeah, maybe players, coaches, or schemes.
Yep.
Let's figure out which, or let's upgrade all.
Right.
Pretty cool. All right, I think that'll wrap it up for this week. Patriots playing the Raiders Sunday afternoon, demoted from Sunday night, but who cares? We'll watch Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Let's go.
Thank you all for listening. Let's go Pats, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, guys. See you.
Adios. Nice.